Marking 100 years since the landing of the Anzacs at Gallipoli. We have been talking today about those Anzac selfies posted all over social media. Many used the hashtag Happy Anzac Day. This woman is seen having a nap between the dawn service and her two-up game. Another woman posted a selfie of herself in a bikini with the words Happy Anzac Day. Well, it was a beach landing. And a couple of blokes posted cheers to the weekend with the hashtag less we forget. Best and less we forget. There have been a lot of comments on the Sunrise Facebook page about this. Lisa says, it's not a happy Anzac Day. It's a time to remember the fallen, not time for a cheeky selfie. So, to comment, let's bring in commentator Prue McSween, cross-cultural consultant Tansen Chopra, and Natalie Barr. Selfies are ubiquitous, of course. But certainly the one thing that Anzac Day is not about is ourselves, isn't it?
Well, it isn't. I mean, I think to me, it's one of the holiest days. You know, I think the dignity and respect that really all of us have shown over this period, in most cases, reflects how the true Australian really feels about the day and what the diggers did for us. But I have to say that they also fought for us to have the right to do things like this.
Sure.
So Australians are laconic, we're irreverent. I mean, it's not appropriate, I suppose, to say Happy Anzac Day, but in another way, it's involving and keeping a younger generation interested and integrated into the spirit of what we're talking about. So while I wouldn't have done it, I see why they have, and I can see some benefits perhaps if it means that they're buying in to it.
Yep.
They then might seek, as they get older, to understand it more and provide a bit more dignity to it.
Tansen, interestingly, there's been a lot of debate over the last week about the relevance of Anzac Day to, various multicultural communities in Australia. What do you see as the relevance of such an event to people who neither had relatives who were a part of Australia at that time or had any connection to that particular conflict?
Well, I think that issue and what Prue's talking about, and if we're talking about what a younger generation feels about this event, then they are going to deploy those social media tactics that they're familiar with to understand the phenomenon, whatever that Anzac Day is. So it's the language that they speak, selfies, and they're going to communicate that. But there is a line. There is a line between the tasteful and the disrespectful as well. So while the selfie culture might acknowledge what the event is, and it can be awareness-raising and it can be educational, it can also be severely offensive, I guess, to those who are very sensitive on the issue. So we have to draw the line. Australia's invented selfies.
Yep.
Australia's have Anzac Day. They're two things, and they need to find a middle ground.
Yeah, indeed. But do you think it is, there's certainly a civic relevance in terms of, citizenship generally about this day. Is that a message, do you think, that needs to be better framed for a now largely multicultural Australia?
I think the conversations are happening. Across schools are participating in this, so that's a very early intervention kind of position to be taking on this issue, much more so than just the RSL clubs or just the media alone. So particularly, I guess, because it's the centenary event.
Yes.
The discussion is on the table.
Yeah.
But it does seem that it's unfortunate that the commercialisation of these events takes away from what might be perceived as the sanctity of them.
Yeah. Nat, what else can you say? Instead of saying Happy Anzac Day, just back to the initial discussion, what else would you say?
I don't know. I think we were brought up to commemorate the day, not enjoy the day, I suppose. And I know it's a fine line, and I don't think any of those selfie takers are actually aiming to cause harm. I just think probably that there is a line, like you said, and the bikini for me is the line. It's not about you and your stomach. Just remove yourself. Think of what the day is, not how it's...
I thought it pretty accurately reflected the topography of Anzac Cove.
Great stuff, but maybe not that appropriate.
Just quickly before we go, Hawthorn coach Alistair Clarkson's been in the news this morning for coat hangering that blockhead Port Adelaide fan who was getting right up in his face and really being quite provocative. I mean, most people seem to be supporting us, saying, well, this guy was asking for it and he got it. Should we expect, our coaches to show a little more restraint, do you think, even if they are being so severely provoked?
You'd hope so. I mean, you see it on the field, though. They're biffing everybody. I was so disgusted last night on the news to see so many in different codes, fans, and the ugly scenes with that. So it's just a culture that's creeping in more and more to across all football codes that I really hate to see. This violence attached to supporting a team. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd say the on-field violence and aggression that we see is somehow cloaked in the terms of sporting behaviour, even though it is condemned, but not to the same extent where it occurs on the street. Suddenly that becomes assault.
Yeah.
And I think in this particular instance, reading up on it, yes, he was provoked. Yes, it was an aggressive situation. But I think what's not being spoken about here is the alcohol-fueled behaviour on both parts as well. There was an aggressor and there was a perpetrator. There's, action, reaction. So we need to have discussions about drinking and violent behaviour.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sorry stage, I guess, to think that, maybe coaches and players need some kind of security, when they're leaving a game. But, it's probably not that much to ask either, is it, Nat?
No, look, I think in a lot of instances on the streets, there probably is an aggressor that we don't see. We see the punch at the end.
Yes.
In this case, we've seen it. And I know the guy was doing the wrong thing, whoever the yobbo was, but I just don't think, and I sort of feel sorry for him that he had to do it. I just don't think we can condone what Alistair did, because fighting back, to me, is not the answer. And where does the fight back stop? If he'd done a punch and he'd, been on the ground and cracked his head open, then do you stand there and say, well, sucked in, you started it? I just don't think we can. And I can see absolutely that there was an aggressor and he was drunk, and I can see all that, but I still think in a civilised society we have to have that line, and he had to withdraw.
Suck it up.
Yeah. Violence is not the answer.
There you go.
When is it ever the answer? Thank you, Tyson. Thank you, Nat. Thank you, Prudence. Here's Sammy.
Thank you, Andrew. Soon on Sunrise, more reaction to Bruce Jenner's